Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Prina. I'm the Director of Communications for the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors. And thank you all for joining us for another Breakfast with Benefits. And today we have a really, really important topic, how to strategically purchase a home in today's market, which can be very, very difficult. We're still in a very tight seller's market. A lot of first-time home buyers are having some difficulties in this area. And here to help us through the whole maze is David Mizrahi, and David is with FM Home Loans, and he is going to be telling us all about how to do this today. So good morning, David, and thank you for this presentation today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My pleasure. So should I start?
Yeah, you can start. I'm just going to put the view on speaker so everyone can see you. And if anyone, what we can do, David, it's up to you. If people have questions, do you want them to wait to the end, or can they?
No.
You want me to? You can put the questions in the chat, and then either one of us can answer them as we go by. Okay. So
yeah, put them in the chat.
All yours.
Jump on in. I'm more than happy to answer all questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to help and answer any questions and try to make your life a little easier.
Great.
So again, thank you for having me this morning. Just to tell you a little bit about me, my name is David Mizrahi. I'm with FM Home Loans. I've been in the mortgage industry since 2001. So I've been doing this for 22 years, pretty much. Almost in September, it'll be almost 22 years. So pretty much I've been doing this my whole adult life. I started when I was 17 years old as a senior in high school, as a secretary in a mortgage company, just to, hang out with my friends on the weekend and make a couple extra dollars. And it just so happened that I was pretty good at it on the phone and worked my way up that company. When I was 24, I ran the company. And then 2008 happened and the crash happened and had to start back over. But so I learned very quickly that in today's world, if you want to get ahead in life, when you want to stay relevant, don't be married to your company. Be married to your marketing. Be married to yourself. Because at the end of the day, the owner of my bank always says the same thing. I own the company, but you own the business. We go hand in hand. The business doesn't run without the company, and the company doesn't run without the business. So my job is to make sure that your business has everything it needs, and your job is to make sure to get as much business as it's to put, to feed the animal, right? So I always said, if you want to be unique, you want to be different, we have to be different. But I always say, you don't have to be the one to be different. Your client has to be the one to be different. We have to separate your client from their competition. And organically, that separates you from your competition. So today I wanted to just go over a couple of the strategic ways to submit an offer, and just a little about the market and the environment, and how to educate a client in today's market, and explain how it is actually a much better market than it was 2 months ago. And a lot of people might say, Dave, you're crazy. The rates are higher and prices are higher. How can you say that it's a way better market than it was 2 months ago? And I'll explain to you. And after I'm done with the Zoom, I would love to get some of your input on that. So, today we'll start off with a little about, let's go over to the managing the client's expectations first, and then we'll go over about the, how to, the psychological of today's market for a buyer. So I always say the first thing we always do when we meet a client is we have to manage the client's expectations. We need to see where their comfort level is. A lot of banks, they talk about pre-approvals and things like that. I don't really care so much about pre-approvals. I look at affordability more than I look at pre-approvals. I work with the anesthesiologists of New Jersey. They make $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 each, every doctor that walks into my office. But that doesn't mean that each one of them could afford a $2-3 million home, right? So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're taking care of the client's needs, and we're making sure they understand everything that they're getting themselves into, because the biggest fear for a client is the fear of unknown, right? They don't know what the next steps are, so they don't want to get there. So one thing that I always tell everyone is, let's manage them up front. Let's explain to them the entire process up front so they know everything up front. And we give them the numbers, because I have a saying, people lie, numbers don't. So if we can give the clients the numbers up front, that's the scariest part of the process. And if they understand that part, then the rest of the part of the process is actually a lot of fun for them, because now they're knowing they're going to go look at homes that they could afford and the payments are okay. And if they're looking at a home between 5 and 550, I'm going to do everything off of 550. If they're looking at taxes between 10 and 12, I'm doing it off of 12. If they're doing it, I'm not sure if I'm putting down 5%, I might get a gift from my parents and put down 10%. I'm doing it on 5%. And I always tell the clients, I'm not trying to scare you away, but I'm trying to scare you into reality because I need to make sure you understand everything up front, because else you're honestly probably just wasting your own time, right? So that's really important to me. So at that point, we have to make sure to get what the client needs, and the numbers. Now, I always say this is the biggest important part of the process, because this is where you make the relationship. And I always tell everyone, what's the difference between the two words of a contact? What's the difference between the word contact and the word contract? Chime in. Anyone know the difference between those two words? Contact and a contract. Anybody? There's one letter difference. What's that letter? The R. There you go, Connie. I hear you. I hear you. Even though you're on mute, I hear you. What does that letter R stand for? Anybody know? It stands for a relationship.
Yeah.
There you go. So why I always say the most important thing, everyone tries so hard and works so hard to make a contact. But the person who actually makes the relationship is the person who gets that contact into contract. Does that make sense? Because everyone works so hard to meet that relationship and to find that relationship. And then they speak to that relationship, and then they feel like that relationship is automatically theirs because I spoke with you. You're mine. I have to show you a home. I spoke with you for 20 minutes of my life. So you're mine, right? That's how everyone always thinks. But it couldn't be further from the truth, because you speak with someone today, they might not be even interested today. They might be interested in 6 months from now. But what do you need to do today? You don't need to get them in contract. Today, you need to make a relationship because you made a contact. And that's really important. So in order to do that, treat them with the right type of respect. Because remember, we all know this is a job to us. This is how we earn our living. But at the end of the day, we're dealing with every emotion of a buyer. They are so excited to buy this house and they are so nervous to buy this house. So we need to make sure that we manage that, and we need to make sure that they understand everything, because after they're done with the loan, I always say it, your deal means nothing to me. I really don't care about the deal. The deal itself is just a deal. But after your deal closes, what I care about is the relationship, because your deal will close. And if your relationship lasts, deals will just keep coming, by the way. So it's really important to do that. And just to let you know, if any of you right now have a lot of buyers that you're working with, you should be doing a first-time home buyer webinar. If any of you are interested, we could definitely help you with that. I already have the whole PowerPoint and everything drafted for you. So all you have to do is kind of a plug and play. We put your headshot, your contact information, because in today's market, it's really important to speak with your buyers and educate them on the difference of the market, which we're going to get into. Now, one thing I always say is, like I said in the beginning, we want to separate our clients from their competition, which organically separates us. So most people in today's market, we met the client, we made our relationship. As a lender, I say, great, nice, going over everything. These are the documents I need from you to gather together. I do all that work up front. Now, when they gather the documents and they send it over to me, I don't just take it and put it in a folder and wait for you guys to find the home. I actually start processing the file, believe it or not. I review the tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, IDs, bank statements, put everything together. And what I'm going to do is actually fill out an application, go over it with them. And then basically, let's just say I get a call from Colleen. And Colleen says, Dave, my client Terry fell in love with a house and they want to buy this property. Now, I already have the entire file together. There's only 3 things that changes in the entire full, as long as they keep their job and all that, of course, which they should. But there's only 3 things that should change in the entire file. And those 3 things are the price, the taxes, and the address. Everything about the client stays the same there, right? Name, address, social, date of birth, employment, bank statements, all of that good stuff, right? So now I always say, what's the most important part of the process for a client? Is it meeting the realtor? Is it meeting the lender? Is it getting an inspector? Is it getting an attorney? Or is it the negotiation part? Because I always say the most important part of a process for a client is the negotiating part. Why? Because you could be the nicest, prettiest, most handsome agent out there with the best family in the world and have the best inspector, the best banker, the best attorney, the best of the best out there. But if you can't negotiate, everything is irrelevant, right? You're not getting to the next step anyway. It doesn't matter how good your inspector is. He's not getting in the game because we can't negotiate the property correctly. So one thing that I do, which is very different, every one of you, if I asked you, if you put in an offer, you're putting it in with a pre-approval, is that correct? Who here doesn't put in an offer with a pre-approval? Anybody? Okay, so we're gonna teach you something new that's way better. So let's just say there's 10 offers on the house. Let's say 20 offers on the house. All right, let's make it even harder. 50 offers on the house. Every one of them pre-approved, $500,000, 5% down, 10% down, 20% down, 30% down, pre-approvals. Great. You called up every single buyer and you're selling your own family's house. Okay. You're the buyer, you're the listing agent and the buyer's agent. You called up every single banker, you confirmed their pre-approval, and you picked out the buyer you wanted to go with. And out of nowhere, I called. And I said, hi, how are you, Colleen? My name is David Mizrahi. You know, Terry is the client that I'm working with. Marta put in the offer before. And I just wanted to introduce myself as the lender. Now, in front of you is not a pre-approval. What I ended up sending you was a DU or an, let's just say a DU. Anybody familiar with the phrase DU or LP? Okay.
No.
So DU stands for desktop underwriting. LP stands for loan prospector. Basically what that is the Fannie Freddie FHA VA automated approval engine. So what I generally do is, instead of, if you asked every person in this country that got denied for a mortgage what they all have in common, that answer is they all received the pre-approval. So I don't really care what, about pre-approvals. I don't really use pre-approvals as much as most lenders do. But so, because it doesn't really mean much. And 97% of the time, a seller is selling their home for what? To get the money out of the home to buy another home. So the most important thing to them is working with someone that's closable. So someone that's pre-approval, there's a lot of question marks. Someone that has a DU or an LP, there's less question marks, right? Nothing's guaranteed, but it's pretty much close to guaranteed. So let's just say, keep going on with the hypothetical. I called you up and I said, hi, Colleen. So I know you have 50 offers on the table, but I already reviewed this client's W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. I put in 1003 together, put the application together. I ran it through the system. In front of you is not a pre-approval. It's the actual DU approval. So if you accept my client's offer, by the time the inspection and the contracts come back, I could have the intent to proceed and the disclosures out. And once the contracts are fully executed, I could order the appraisal within 24 hours. We'll have the appraisal back within 3 to 5 business days. And from there, I could submit your file for commitment. If you need a rush, we could submit it before. And I could have a commitment for you within 2 to 3 business days once everything is in. Now, you had 50 offers on the table, Colleen, and you picked out which one you wanted to go with before I called you. Now, you went over all the pre-approvals. Now, I called you and said I have a DU approval and all that. Which, are you thinking about my offer now? Would you entertain my offer? Would you accept my offer?
Yes.
Would anyone here not accept my offer? Nobody? There's 14 people on the call, and 14 people said they accept the offer. And that's my point.
I would say maybe the loan to value, or maybe the person's.
Great question. So, well, in regards to the person's income and everything like that, it's on the DU already. So it shows that they're approved and we already reviewed the income and they're good. Now, great point. We could worry about the appraisal. Now, I would then go and I would say, that's your concern. I would tell you, no problem. Do you think the value of the home is going to come in? Now, in today's market, homes are pretty much flat. So the values we're not having issues because they're not going this way. They're staying this way almost. So if in this hypothetical, is the appraisal going to come in, Colleen? Okay. So if the appraisal comes in, I would say is that, I would tell the listing agent, I totally understand your concern. You have someone putting down 25% down, but I've seen clients putting down 30% that got denied for a mortgage. This client here is putting down 5%, but I'm coming with the other 95%. And here's the DU showing that it's actually approved. Now, I totally understand your concern that the appraisal might come in light, but the good thing about our bank is that we actually control the appraisal from hello to goodbye. We have our appraisal management company inside of our company. So if the value is supposed to be there, which you're telling me it is, so you have your comps. When the appraiser meets you, I always tell my agents, meet the appraiser and give them a few comps. Hey, I did some of the work, here it is. So here's the couple of comps that I use. They will use them, as long as they're realistic. But yes, that would be pretty much the only objection. But just about 4 or 5 months ago, when everyone was having all their issues, and I remember reading all over Facebook, and if anyone goes to my Facebook, they'll see that I'm telling something that's true. Everyone was crying, saying, "Oh, I can't get a 3.5%, 5%. No one would take an FHA loan." I think I've closed maybe 15 or 20 deals in the last of FHA deals with 3.5% down over the last quarter. So when everyone was saying that it can't get done, I was doing it every single day. Why? Because I would just call the listing agent. And one thing that I do is I help my agent negotiate. I will actually call the listing agent because I want to make sure they understand where the client is. Also, they love the aggressiveness, but also on top of that, I'm not sitting around waiting for them to call me. Because how about, let's just say there's 10 offers on the table. Let's just say I'm number 4. Now they call pre-approval number 1, number 2, number 3. There's a good chance they could fall in love with those loan officers before they even got a chance to meet me, and our client doesn't get the opportunity. So I don't want to sit around and wait for them to call the banker. I want to call them and say, "Hey, just want to let you know, did you get my DU? Are you understanding what a DU is?" Because most people don't understand what a DU is. And then when they see how far we went, they appreciate the fact that, wow, everyone is giving me a pre-approval. You're in the 3rd, 4th inning of the process, giving me an approval. So if I say yes now, we can go right away and get the process done. So for me, and I can close a loan if I need to in 3 weeks. Why? Because I'm in the 3rd inning. I submitted I heard someone say KW, so I always give names. So in case someone wants to confirm what I say, Steve Margoli works with KW. He gave me a client a couple of weeks ago. They got into contract the other day. I have the full file already ready to go. I have the appraisal ordered yesterday, which they gave me the fully executed contract yesterday. The file's went into underwriting last night, and I'll have the commitment on Friday at the latest. And they just went into contract yesterday. So, these are things. Now, the cool thing is the client was working with Chase before they were working with me, and Chase was taking a little bit of time to get back to them. So they ended up switching over to me. The client called up Steve, said, "I want to tell you your team is fantastic." And I always tell everyone the same thing, and I tell all my agents the same thing. When they say that, say great, that makes me feel great. The reason why I have a fantastic and unbelievable team around me is because my whole goal is to make sure that I give you the best experience. So if you know anyone looking to buy or, sell or do anything, think about me, because if I can't help, I have a network that can. As you can see, we're all about making sure we do the right thing for the clients. And it's a good thing because you always have to remind the client to send you referrals, because clients always forget about that, believe it or not. And that's why on my signature on every email, I always write, "Thank you. One of the greatest compliments I can receive is recommendations from your friends, loved ones, and coworkers. Thanks for the trust and continued business." I remind them all the time. And why do I do that? Yeah.
I have one question. Can you please
Ask me anything.
just tell me what DU means again?
DU stands for Desktop Underwriter, which is
Okay, got it.
basically the Fannie Mae FHA automated approval engine. And the LP is the Loan Prospector, which is the Freddie Mac automated approval engine.
Got it. I'm going to use you. I have a deal that's very delicate. I'm going to use you.
Okay. So, and also, why did I start using this program? How did I come up with this? I'll tell you, there was a guy named Robert Ayala who worked in an office in Queens. And he called me up one week after a weekend, and he called me up complaining that he had all these buyers. He went out all weekend with them. We put in offers on almost every one of them, and not one of them was approved. And he said, "Dave, I love you. We're great, but I'm going to switch from the buyers to sellers." And I said, "Okay." I said, "But why?" Just out of curiosity. He said, "Because, I'm spending so much of my time and I'm not getting any approved offers." And I said, "Robert, anytime you have issues, what do I always say? Tell me, and we'll work them out together." So I was sitting in a class in a training, and this guy, Scott, brought up DU and LP. And I said, every time I have a client that's so borderline and I'm not sure if they fit or don't fit, I always run the DU just to make sure that I'm not wasting my realtor's time with someone that's not going to qualify. And then I started noticing that, someone, the bankers, the listing agents would call me and say, "Hey, David, just want to introduce myself. Just want to see, how is this client?" And I would say, "How much do they make a year? They make 100,000, but they're buying a house for 500,000. They're putting down 3.5%, 100,000 is enough." And I said, "I totally agree with you. I know it sounds very tight, but the good thing is that I ran it through the file and already have an approval." In the mortgage industry, if you get approved with a 1% or 49.99% debt to income ratio, you qualify. It's a pass-fail mentality, like in college, right? College classes. So, you don't get a better grade or anything like that. You don't get a better rate. It's P or F. You either get the loan or you don't. So I told him, "I totally understand where you're coming from. The debt to income ratio is a little bit tight, but what I did already was I already ran the DU, and let me just send that to you." After sending it to a couple of the listing agents, they said, all right, you know what? I understand the deal's very tight, but since you did all the work and I know it's good, we'll accept the offer. And then I said, wait, why don't I do that for someone with a 740 credit score, putting down 20% that has a 20 DTI and everything like that? And I started doing that. 30 days later, every single one of buyers was in contract. So then I said, I'm going to do this all the time. And I started doing it more and more. And this was 6-7 years ago, way before Corona. And the reason why you don't hear about DU or LP from any banks is because it's very time consuming, because believe it or not, I'm actually processing a loan before they go into contract. Now, most bankers don't like to do that because they're afraid the client might leave them. They're spending time. They have to have a processor. They have to hire an extra processor just to process these loans, because you can't say, okay, clients in contract, you now go from 30-day closings to 60-day closings because I have to go and run DU and LP on all my clients to get them in contract like I did with you. They don't care about that. At that point, they need to close. So you need to go and make sure that, you did what you needed to get into the contract, just like the contact, right? But then you got to do what you have to do to get them to closing, because that's how you form that relationship, so that they can tell, you get the relationships and you get the referrals. Ours always stick with ours. So it's really important because, again, this business, you have a closing, you don't get a paycheck next week again. You have that closing, it's done. You need to find your next paycheck. Now, your clients could do that for you if you treat them the right way and you give them the right experience. So, so at that point, we should always have a good understanding of what the client needs, but also we should have that open type of transparency with the listing agent, which most people don't like to do. So I'm going to do that with you guys, and I'm going to be the one to actually call the listing agent and go over that with them, because I could say things you can't say also. You could say, oh yeah, they're going to close in 30 days. Okay, yeah, of course. We know you're going to say that. But I could say, hey, listen, I already did this, written everything in, and I'm already into the third inning. Yeah, we can close in 30 days because I'm so far advanced. Here's your DU, and tell me your concerns, because I could go over all your concerns with you, and we can knock them out right now. And God willing, we could have your approved offer. Because if you approve my offer today, I'm already in the third inning. I could just legit hit an intent to proceed, disclosures, within 48 hours. I'm already ordering an appraisal when you're not even doing the inspection yet. So they appreciate that. So that's, I know I don't have so much time, so I just want to finish off with that, and then I'll go into a little about the psychological of a client and just how to educate them. Anyone have any questions on that so far? Okay, and if you do, jump in. So in today's world, I always tell everyone's very nervous. Everyone's waiting, right? Everyone's on the fence. Oh, Dave, rates are high, prices are high. I'm going to wait. So I tell everyone, I give everyone a perfect example. And I always say a few things. And I say, everyone's trying to time the market. First of all, this is not 2008. There's no bubble, okay? There's no any crash that's coming down the road that we see right now, at least. So real estate's not going to get hit like it did before, in my opinion, I should say. But what I will say is, I tell a client that when is the right time to buy? I get that question every time I do a first-time home buyer webinar. And I had a webinar just 2 weeks ago. We had 14 or 15 people on the webinar. And before we started the webinar, I asked everyone one question: who's interested in buying in the next 30 to 90 days? 2 people raised their hand. Okay, not bad. Now, after going over everything that I'm about to go over with you, I asked everyone, who's interested in buying a home now in the next 60 to 90 days? 7 people raised their hand. So we went up 5 people. And why? Because they understood the reasoning behind it. So people tell me everything's high today. Now I tell them, would you rather buy in a house in 2 months ago where the prices of the home would come on the market for 600 and you had to buy it for 670, but the interest rate was 1% less? Or would you rather buy a home that comes on the market in today's market that for 600 between 590 and 610 with 1% higher rate? Because 2-3 months ago, it sounded very sexy. I got a 3.75 rate. It's a great time for me to buy. I want to buy. Oh, the house is market for 600. Someone's offering 630. Someone's offering 650. I'll buy it for 680. So that really pretty attractive rate is actually costing you more on a monthly payment because the rates were so low. So at the end of the day, would you rather buy where there's so much competition or less competition? Because one thing in this world that's never going to change is the supply is going to stay the same. The demand is always going to get greater. people, the land around us is staying the same size. The population is growing, right? 1 million people moved out of the boroughs last year, in the last couple of years from COVID. You would think the prices would go down, right? Because that many people moved out. But no, there's so much demand that even if another 1 million people moved out, the prices would still go up. So I always tell everyone, don't worry about when you should buy, because I'll give the analogy of 2008. People that bought in 2007, right, they thought it was the best move of their life. In 2008, they just found out it wasn't, right? 2009, down 10, down 11, down 12, even 13, 14, and all of a sudden 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now we're in 2022, 15 years later. They bought that property for 400,000. It's worth 700,000, 800,000, 900,000. They bought that house for 400,000. They owe 200,000. The value of the home is $700,000, $900,000 now. So they got 15 years of tax write-offs. The value appreciated so much. And at the end of the day, they could rent out that property, get the rental income, because now they could either make money on that property or sell it, take the several $100,000 they're about to get, buy another property, or take it and buy another property for yourself, reinvest it. I had a client who sold their property in Queens. They ended up buying a property for themselves in Florida and their daughter in New Jersey. With one property, they bought two properties. So at the end of the day, if you take care of your real estate today, it will take care of you in the future, no matter what market you buy in, because there is no such thing as a bad market, and you can never, ever, ever time a market. You might get lucky, but you didn't time it. You got lucky. But if you asked everyone that bought real estate, they would say the person that bought, someone that bought a piece of real estate in 2020 would say the person in 2015 was smarter than them. The person in 2010 was smarter than them. The person in 2005 was smarter than them because they bought it earlier than them. They weren't smarter. They just were able to buy it earlier, and they were able to afford it earlier. So they got in, because if you look at a real estate market, it generally goes this way with a couple of bumps in the road, right? But if you look at interest rate markets, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. So it doesn't go this way. It goes up and down. It stays in the same area. So, there's a saying, you marry your house and you date your rate, right? You're going to marry this house. And if you think that today's rates are high, they're not high. They're higher than what they were a couple of months ago, because historically they're actually low, and they're really low, and they're really good, So you should convey that to the clients as well, because I tell a client, would you rather buy 2 months ago when everyone was bidding up that house, 10, 15, 20% over the real value? Or would you rather buy in today's market where you can buy it at a real value? And then if you think today's interest rates are high, fine. That means in a year or 2 or 6 months or 3 years, the rates will go down. And when the rates go down, you get to find a new date and marry a new date, basically get a new rate. So for you, you get to purchase a home at the right price, and then you get the tax write-offs, and then you get to refinance it. Because if you could afford a home today, you'll be able to afford it a lot easier, because with inflation alone, your salaries will only go up, and you get to freeze time when you buy a home. When you purchase a home, you freeze time, because that house is 500,000, your mortgage is 2,500, but in 10 years from now, that home is 700,000. Your mortgage payments are a lot more, but you froze time on 500,000. So, and then you look at it, you're making all those mortgage payments. Now, every single month, your equity bank is getting larger. I always hear from renters, oh yeah, but my mortgage payment's going up. Of course it's going up. When you pay rent, 100% of it is interest, goes to your landlord. When you pay a mortgage, not 100% of it is going to the mortgage company. So the mortgage is getting the interest. And then there's a big portion of it that's going to pay down your principal, which is yours. And you're going to get that back eventually. You could refinance it, you could sell it, you could get a home equity line of credit. There's a bunch of things that you will be able to do. So I always tell everyone, if you're comfortable with today's payment, and that's when you should buy, because it's only going to get cheaper for you in the future, because A, you'll be making more money, B, the interest rates will eventually go down, and then you'll take advantage of the market. So that's the beautiful thing, because people are like, I'm going to wait for the market, but in 6 months from now, that house that's listed won't be listed. You won't be able to get that house. Once someone buys it, it's off the market for a year, 2, 5, 20 years ever, because that person's going to keep it. And now the supply goes a little bit less, and the demand only gets stronger because more and more people are jumping into the home buying process. So, so that's just a little bit about the psychological of a client, and that's how you should be answering them. Because when someone asks you, when is a good time to buy? Are you qualified now? Now is the right time. Don't worry about the market, because even if it gets beaten up a little bit or it corrects itself, at the end of the day, they'll go like this and then just go right back up. It's going to be a slingshot effect. So, but I am happy that the prices of homes stabilized, because else our kids are going to have a problem. And I like it when things go up gradually instead of this way. It's a little bit tougher on the consumer, psychological, and that's why you saw there was a brief period of holding time of a month where everyone had to get comfortable and used to it. It's like when the gas prices went to $5, when it was $2, we're like $3 is too expensive. All of a sudden it's $5. Now it's $4, and we're saying, wow, they're so cheap right now. Gas, it's not cheap, it's still expensive, but we reprogrammed. We went to, $5 is the new price. Now $4 is cheap. So that's all that happened. And it's the same thing with real estate. It's the same thing with everyone. I always tell a realtor, a year ago, no realtor wanted to go and tell their client to overbid on a house because they felt like they're uncomfortable and they couldn't do it, right? Now, all of a sudden, every realtor and everybody's telling their client overbid, 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 because that was the market. So it's really all, how you educate your clients, because they don't know anything. I'm not trying to be rude to them, but there was never a class, unfortunately, to teach them how to buy a home or how to get a mortgage. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the biggest investment of their life. My mother's a professor in college, and I always say, I don't understand how they don't teach that. So that's why I like to do the first-time home buyer webinar. So if anyone is interested in it, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to set it up and do it. And I could send you over a PowerPoint that you could put your information on it, because the message that we're getting out to the buyers, the cool thing about a first-time home buyer webinar, let's just say there's 10 people there. You give them so much information that when they leave, they actually love the information and they talk to their friends and their family about it. So your audience, you might think that you have 10 people in front of you on Zoom, but your audience is actually closer to 100 people, because those 10 people are going to walk out and talk to their 10 friends. And then, that's really where the business comes from. So I always tell everyone, do webinars, do it wherever you can. I've done one for a teacher in their school after school was out. We did one for the whole faculty. If you work in a hospital, you work, you can just deal with your own buyers, your own renters, your past clients, things like that. It's really important to do them because it shows everyone that you care, and that everyone would be interested in learning. And also you become the educator, so your respect level from them goes up. You're not just another realtor. Remember, we got to separate ourselves. We got to separate our clients. And that's what's going to create that bond, that relationship with the client, so that, God willing, after they close, they tell their friends and family about us, because it has nothing to do with the deal. It's always about the relationship. And that's the difference. I always said, like I said in the beginning, between the word contact and the contract. The only person who's going to get that person in contract is the person that builds that relationship, because the relationship you need to build when you're selling a home is not just a business relationship, it's a personal relationship, because there's no bigger business move in someone's life than buying their home, but there's no bigger personal move for their family than buying a home. So you have to be everything to everyone. And if there is, then you'll be able to, be successful, in my opinion, because you might close deals here and there, but it's a real, for you're basically becoming, a specialist. And that's what happens when you become a specialist, like a doctor, and you have and you major in one thing, people come to you because you're the specialist and you're the person that's going to have all the answers for them. And that's what you want. That's why I said, I've been doing this for 22 years. And for me, that's what makes me successful, because I've always done the right thing. I've always helped people. I always made sure to be there for everyone. But at the same time, I was always a tool. I was never about saying, oh, what is in it for me? No, you have a question, let me answer that question. It's my pleasure to answer that question. I might have to answer 10 phone calls and 10 answers, questions for that client. And then all of a sudden on the 11th call, they say, oh, by the way, just want to say thank you for everything. My sister Marta is looking to sell a home, or buy a house. Can you give her a call? Yeah, for sure. I could definitely give her a call. My pleasure. Happy to help. And that's how it goes. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we got a busy day ahead of us. So I try to keep it at 30 minutes, which perfect, I did. So I want to open up for any questions that you guys have.
And you can just unmute yourself if you want to ask the questions, because we have a smaller group today. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to put my number in the chat in case anyone has any questions. You could always reach out to me after. If any of you want the PowerPoint, just send me an email. I'm going to put my email on here as well. And I could send you a PowerPoint to the first time home buyer webinar that I've been sending out to a lot of the agents. I don't know if you follow me on social media, but yeah, you can see it there as well. We have the flyers and everything. So if it's something you want to do, just email me. I would forward you a PowerPoint with the flyer. And all we need to do is just basically put your picture on it, your contact info, your logo on it. And then we could set it up for one evening or day, whatever you would like. And we could do it on Zoom or we could do it in person. It's up to you guys. But Zoom has been really working out.
I'm sorry, it was so quick that the number was posted. Can you repeat your cell number, please?
Oh, I put it in the chat.
Okay.
It's 917-597-870.
67?
917
Yeah.
597-0870.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we are recording this, so we'll be able to send it out to everyone here and the people that couldn't make it today as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
So I got a question for you guys. Well, I guess I'm going to say ladies because it's all ladies. Lucky man I am. And I got a question. Do you think the information that we gave that I went over with you today, if you had a buyer in front of you that was giving you a little bit of pushback, do you think you could use some of the information I gave you to help them educate them on buying a home?
Yes.
Do you think it will work?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So that means I did my job. So, you know, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about, because I mean, I could go downstairs and grab my folder. I literally have pages like this thick. And what do I do all day pretty much over the last 6 months? I've been reprogramming all my clients for my agents. And then I started saying to my agents, we need to do first-time home buyer webinars, because I'm calling 20 people for one agent where we can just do one Zoom and we can educate everyone. And the cool thing about it is I've noticed that the people in the webinar is actually showing everyone that wasn't interested why they should be interested. And then it started working out where like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be waiting right now. David's brought up all these great things. Colleen said this, Connie said this, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's great. And now all of a sudden they see the buyers all of a sudden getting into it. And then they're like, oh wait, now they have the FOMO. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I'm not getting something. And then once you give them the information, they might know nothing about real estate or getting a mortgage, but they know good people from not. And they also know good information from not. And they have common sense. They are educated people. They might not be educated in real estate, which doesn't make them dumb or not educated. They just never took up that topic because there was never anyone to ever teach it for them. So if we could become that tool for them and that person for them, then we are that person for them forever. And then I tell them, you lock in my number, David, the mortgage guy, you know, Colleen, the realtor. And why do I say to always do that, guys? For one reason. Oh, I got a man in here. Dean, what's up, my man? Gentlemen. Why do I say to do that? Because, you know, one thing I've learned, I remember this woman, Daphne Gochua. I did a mortgage for her 10, 12 years ago. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, she called me. And it just so happened that she was looking to, her sister was looking to do something. And it just so happened the realtor said my name. And she said, give me his number. And she called me. And as I'm on the phone with her, she's telling me about this doctor bought a house, this nurse bought a house, this person a house, and this and that. And after I hung up with her, I made a little bit of a comment like, Daphne, I thought you loved me. You were working with someone else. I got you your condo. I closed you in less than 30 days. I got you your rate. What's up with all this? You're like, it hurts hearing you say this. She says, honestly, I lost your number. I didn't really know, but you never really, you know, and I didn't even think of you. And it hit me. I had a little aha moment. And I called her the next morning to apologize because behind the, you know, she's like, I'm so sorry. She behind kind of hung up in a, not the best way, not a worse way, but, you know, it's not the right way to hang up. And I called her, I said, I just want to apologize. It was a little uncomfortable for you. I heard when I made that comment, it wasn't so serious, just, but I want to tell you, but in the future, just think of me. I really would love for you to remember me. And I said, I just want to let you know, it's not your fault. It's my fault because I never told you to tell anyone about me. So going forward, if you could tell everyone. And she's like, David, I promise you, I'll tell everyone. Literally, she ended up, I closed maybe 4 or 5 deals from her that year. I actually just closed her other sister's mortgage just about 5-6 months ago. And it was just because I told her, think of me. That was it. Then you close, their life gets crazy, they move on, they forget, you know, it's life. it happens in your own life. Someone did something nice for you, 2 weeks later, out of sight, out of mind, it is what it is. So always remind them, and always, every year they have a birthday, and every year they have a loan anniversary. Put those dates in your calendar, and it's just a 5-second text message or phone call. Hey, just want to say congratulations. Today's the 1 year that you own the home. How's everything going? How's life? How's family? How's this? How's that? And then you hang up. By the way, if you ever have any questions, call me. Or if you ever have someone looking to buy or refinance or rent, call me. I'm here for that as well. That little comment will get you a ton of extra loans deals at the end of the year. And more importantly, it'll give you more contacts, which will then give you more abilities to make relationships, which will then give you the ability to get more referrals. And that's the whole name of the game. It's about giving something they need, being unique, being different. And I hope, from this training, you got something out of it that will make you a little bit different than everyone, a little bit more unique. I know I gave you some strategies that you weren't used to, and it's all new to you, which is awesome. But don't feel uncomfortable to call me and say, Dave, what's that DU thing again you spoke about? I got no problem with going over with you. It's all new. If you're having a problem with a buyer, with competition, with a bunch of other offers on the table, call me. We can go over things differently. We'll get the client's docs in. We'll submit a DU. I'll call the listing agent. We'll do things as differently, as unique and as different as we can, just to make sure that client stands out and they get the home they want. And then the good thing is once you get them into that home, the most valuable asset you have is your time. You use your time wisely. Now, next weekend, you don't have to take the same buyer out and do the same thing with them. And now you could go find another buyer or a listing or hang out with your family or do whatever you want because you did your job last week.
David, I just and I'm not a realtor, but I sure know a lot of them. And I'm just wondering, how much of a competition is it if one of the other offers is all cash? Do sellers typically tend to go with the all cash offers?
To be honest with you, yeah, they would. But I'll be honest with you also, I've actually used the DU to beat out a cash offer, because believe it or not, some sellers, they don't want to sell to an investor. They actually love their community, they love their block, and they want to know who's coming in. That's number one. Number two, a lot of times a cash offer is a little bit lower than a mortgage offer. So one thing that I stress to the seller, I say, I totally understand you have a DU. You have a cash offer, which is nothing better than cash, but I have a DU. I already ran everything. It's almost as good as cash. It's not cash. But at the end of the day, no problem, Dean. But at the end of the day, it is important for them to understand that we are in cash, but we're pretty much close to cash. And the client was already vetted. It's not just pre-approved. And I've actually was able to get a bunch of approved offers over the last year over a cash offer, just because we had I even had some of the buyers write a little note to the seller and put it in. I know someone told me a couple months ago it's not supposed to be allowed, or they shouldn't be doing it or anything like that. I wasn't too sure about that, but I remember I told a lot of buyers to it. It worked. Sometimes it's easy to ask for forgiveness and permission, so I'm not so upset about it because we got them into the house. But at the end of the day, it's good just to make the seller know that this is a business transaction, but also at the same time as we want to take care of the community that you've been living in for 20 years, 10 years, and you want to make sure that the person moving into your neighbors that's been there for you for the last 20 years. So that's one thing that I use. And then the DU, and I explain to them the benefits of a DU and things like that. So definitely great question. Definitely your cash offers are a little bit tougher. But the good thing is with the pre-approval, you have no chance against the cash offer. With a DU, you do have a chance.
Okay, great information. And if anybody else has anything, or if not, it's 10:15. So we covered a lot, and this will be recorded hopefully later today or tomorrow. We'll have this for everyone. And if anyone has any questions in the meantime, they can contact David. If you didn't write his information down, you can always contact me. And thank you, David. Very informative. If everybody got something out of this today.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
David.
And I just got a text message that I got invited to the Yankee game right now. So that's
good for you.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So I think I'll be with someone in Colleen's office, actually. You're with KW. I just got invited from Rich Amato. So that's pretty
Ah,
cool.
very
So,
nice.
Oh, okay.
Enjoy.
yeah. So I'm actually
Okay.
going to go there tonight. You got me in a suite. Not bad. All right.
Wow.
All right. Great day so far. I didn't know I
Great
got the
day.
Yankee game.
All right,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank
So
you.
thank you all for having me. Thank you for coming. Honestly, I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope we continued the conversation. Please call me for anything, even if it's just a question. If you're having a problem with a deal, don't think, call me with it. I don't care. I'm not the guy that just says, give me the, if you have an issue, I'm here to help. You have a client that has a question, I'm here to answer it. You have a deal that needs to close, I'm definitely here for that. But at the end of the day, I want to be here for everything. And I want to make sure that, like I said before, be part of the team, help you out. You have you need flyers to go out with the marketing. We can have a marketing department. We have a bunch of things, but I'd love to continue the conversation. My cell phone's on there. And if anyone needs a copy of the webinar or the flyers, please email me. I'll forward it over to you today so you could have it. And then we could start creating a day for or evening for us to do the first time home buyer webinars. If you want to do it, even with your churches. I've been doing it with a lot of churches lately, actually, and it's been working out really, really well. So think of all these different ideas: schools, churches, hospitals. I've even done it in an office with 15 people, and they had nothing to do with real estate. They were selling warranties. But the owner was getting a mortgage, and I said, "Hey, I just out of curiosity, if you want for your office, I know you have a lot of people that you want to." He said, "Come on by." I met this guy Morris Luz, who's now, I sent him a pre-approval, who's looking to buy in Jackson, New Jersey. So you never know where it's going to take you, and you never know who you're going to meet. And it's also nice to do it because it's a little bit of a give back. So for me, I come from a family of educators, so I love to do it. So
Great.
call me anytime.
Okay. Thank you again, David. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a successful day. Great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.